Hey, good morning, friends. Welcome back to Mark Kelly Farm. Looking outside today, looks like a beautiful fall day out there. You would not know it's 7 degrees outside. Very deceiving. I'm not used to looking out and seeing bright sunshiny days and having it be so cold. But being that cold outside, I'm going to stay in for a while till it warms up and do a little baking, which I like doing on cold days. I either like baking or making like soup or stew or something. But we're going to make some cookies today. And I've been craving some of our cowboy cookies. Way back in the day when I was on the fire department, we had an office girl that did kind of secretarial work, and I call her girl because she was a girl at the time. Her name was Jaylynn. Sweet gal, still a friend of ours. Miss her to death. She's living out in California with she married my good buddy Arnold, who was also on the fire department. But every now and then she would bake there at the firehouse for us, those of us who were just hanging around or come in during work hours. And she would bake these cookies. She didn't call them cowboy cookies, but she called them just regular oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. And the reason I call them cowboy cookies is because I don't like them with the nuts. And I don't think Jaylynn ever made them with the nuts either. But I call them cowgirl cookies. Now my mom, she puts nuts in everything. And she got a freezer full of nuts. We started calling her Squirrel because she hoards nuts like a squirrel going into winter. But my dad really liked these cookies too. We used to make them and he really ate those up. But Mom was always disappointed when I made them because I didn't put the nuts in them. So without further ado, let's get this recipe going. First things first, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. All right, in our stand mixer, we got 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of just plain regular granulated sugar, and 1 cube of softened butter. I always break the butter in half so it gets going a little quicker. But we're going to cream this together just like you would do with 90% of cookie recipes. So we'll turn this thing on low and let it get creaming together. All right, we creamed together our sugars and our butter on about medium speed. And you want to keep going till the butter just fully incorporates into the sugar. The sugar crystals will help break down that butter. So we've reached that point. So now at this point, we're going to add 2 eggs and a teaspoon of our homemade vanilla. You don't have to use homemade vanilla, but if you got it, it's really good. So we're going to beat this up pretty well till everything incorporates again. Put it on about speed number 2 for a minute, let things get going. And once things kind of incorporate, we can bump it up to about 4. We just don't want to sling stuff out all over the counter. You want to go till you just don't see any more lumps of anything. Everything's kind of a solid consistency. All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to get our little spatula and scrape the sides of the bowl down just a little bit and run it again real quick. All right, we got our bowl scraped. Our little wiper here on our newfangled beater doesn't quite hit the bowl, but there is an adjustment to bring your mixer down a little bit, that little screw there in the back. You turn it, I think you turn it clockwise and it allows your mixer to come down just a little bit. Do it a little bit at a time. You just barely want it touching. You don't want it hitting it too hard. But we'll put this down and give it another little spin. I think we're pretty good right there. Now the next step is to mix together all of our dry ingredients, and I wanted to show you a little bit about measuring flour. You see a lot of people sifting flour, making it nice and airy before they measure it. What I do, you just get in here with the cup and fluff it up really good. Get a nice fluffy pile of flour in here, and then go into that to measure it, and just shake your cup around until you get a nice even cup, and then you can dump it into your container. Now when I do half a cup, I'll just eyeball half a cup rather than dirtying a half a cup, because you can eyeball this. See, that's about a half a cup. And that's about as close as you need to be, like on a cookie recipe. So I don't dirty a whole nother cup just to do that. I even do quarter cups that way. I can eyeball them. But that's a good way to measure flour. So you want to mix all your dry ingredients together. So that's 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which it says is optional. But again, like if you remember, which recipe was it? I talked about the salt. A lot of people say salt is optional, so in the ingredients list and in like the daily value list and all that, they can list it as being low sodium. But don't ever leave the salt out. Salt enhances the flavor of everything. Unless you've just got a serious medical problem where the doctor says no salt, go ahead and put the salt in. Your body needs the minerals, and that salt is not going to hurt you. You like my little small whisk? I love that little thing. I use it for mixing like spices and stuff. But we've got our dry ingredients pretty much mixed up. So we added our dry ingredients and we mixed it well. Then we added 3 cups of oatmeal, the quick oats, not the old-fashioned oats. So now that we've got that mixed together, we're going to add 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, everybody's favorite. So let's get those in the bowl. All right, we got them in. I failed to remember that 2 cups is pretty much the whole 12-ounce bag. So let's get those incorporated in. Put it on stir. Just till everything comes together and you see kind of a even distribution of your chocolate chips throughout the mix. And then that's all the mixing you got to do. My mixer is a little loose up here. It's getting old, I guess. So it looks like we're about done. So now we're going to get our cookie sheets and our pre-cut parchment paper out. Alright folks, I use my number 30 disher for this, and you just scoop it up, smash it against the pan, make sure you got kind of a level, and then just eject it out onto the cookie sheet. This is a half sheet pan, and I'm doing 1 dozen cookies on this pan. Now a quick tip that I can give you: if you make these balls like this, you can make sure they're making a real nice ball. Put this pan in the freezer. Freeze these cookie balls like this till they're frozen, and then take them loose, put them in a Ziploc bag, freezer bag. Obviously date it and everything else like that. So anytime you would need a dozen cookies, you would pull that bag out of the fridge, put your cookie balls on your cookie sheet, and throw them into your preheated 350-degree oven. You would probably have to adjust your cooking time a little bit longer than the fresh cookies, because they'll have to thaw out a little bit as they cook. But just play with it, look at it as you're cooking them. Once they look like they're done and just barely starting to brown, it's time to pull them out. But we're going to put these in our preheated 350-degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes. I like a more chewy cookie, so I don't cook them long enough to where they're going to get dry and hard on me. So I'm going to get these popped in the oven and put me another sheet together, maybe 2. Alright, we made just under 3 pans, which would be just under 3 dozen, 2 cookies shy. The last cookie, just like the last pancake, is always the biggest. So remember, these are cowgirl cookies. If you wanted the cowboy cookies, you would need to add the nuts. And I would probably add this whole bag of nuts if you're going to add the nuts. And then you'd probably come out to a full 3 dozen with that little extra bulk. But add as many as you'd like to taste. My mom, I'm sure, would add this whole bag, right, Mom? All right, we'll bring it back when we've got some pulled out of the oven. The more I think about it, if you're going to make the cowboy cookies, you would probably back off the chocolate chips to just a cup and then add just a cup of the chopped walnuts, and then your consistency would probably stay just about right. You wouldn't get too loose where your cookies are going to fall apart, so that'd probably be a good idea. All right, there's our cookies. You can see where they're just barely starting to turn brown on top. Right there. That's what you want. But these are all done. You can see that they don't flatten out terribly far. We probably could have got 5 wide on here if we really tried. Maybe even 4 by 5. But this is how we do them, so we know we got an even dozen. But those are fantastic cookies. Just like any cookie or any baked goods that we do, as soon as those cool off, I get them in an airtight container because you do not want them to dry. Most of your dry baked goods are because they sat out too long and dehydrate. So don't let that happen. But you don't want to put them in when they're still warm because they'll sweat. So as soon as they're cool to the touch where you don't feel any warmth at all, get them in a bag or get them in a container. Now, if you wanted to do this quicker, you could do like a sheet cookie, where you take like a cake pan, like 9 by 13, dump the whole batch in that pan, flatten it all out to one level, throw it in your oven, still at 350, but it's probably going to need to bake for more like 30 minutes. And then pull it out, cool it off, and then you can cut it into whatever size squares you want. It's pretty convenient. Oh, it smells good in here. Now this recipe also makes a very good oatmeal raisin cookie, and I love me an oatmeal raisin cookie. You would only use 1 cup of raisins, though, instead of the 2 cups of chocolate chips that we're using here. Now, I have found even people that do not care for oatmeal raisin cookies love these cowgirl cookies or cowboy cookies. Today, these cookies identify as cowgirl. But I've never seen anybody that didn't like these cookies. And once these cookies are out of the oven, let them sit for 2 or 3 minutes on the cookie sheet, and then remove them with a little spatula. Put them on your cooling rack. The cookies will cool a lot quicker because they're not sitting on that hot cookie sheet, and we can get them into an airtight container a lot quicker. So I hope you give these cookies a try. They're fantastic. Everybody loves them. They're a crowd pleaser. So love you, Jaylyn. We're thinking about you today making cookies. And we'll gobble some of these up later. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Love you.